Have you discovered rust on your firearm and need to find a way to remove it? Well, stick around right here on Florida Responsible Carry. I'll show you what I do to remove this rust. Hey, Steve here. No matter what part of the world you live in, moisture and firearms do not mix. They will rust eventually, especially if you live in a more humid climate like I do here in Florida. Well, this is what I've discovered on my firearm just recently when I went to the range. And no matter how many times I've dried the weapon off and dried the holster out, the leather portion of my hybrid holster still retained the moisture, and the moisture was in contact with the firearm that's causing the rust. Well, let's go ahead and see how I remove this rust from the slide of my 45. Now this is the side of my 45 that's against the leather in my holster, and as you can see, I've got some rust here, and rust over here as well. And again, this is the side that's against the leather portion of my holster, which the leather absorbs the body sweat and absorbs moisture and maintains moisture. So this other side, which fits or is against the Kydex side of the holster, as you can see, has absolutely no traces of rust. As I said previously, I take this weapon out if I've worn it in this holster and I've either been sweating some or it's got rained on or somehow got moisture on it. I always take the weapon out and dry it off thoroughly and dry the holster out. But you can't always dry out the leather portion of the holster sufficiently without just having to sit it out for a while and let it air dry. Again, the rust forms here. So I'm going to go ahead and get this rust off this weapon here, and hopefully this process will work fairly decent. See, if the slide itself is pitted, it's not going to fix that, but what I'm going to do should remove the rust in these areas without destroying the bluing. Okay, the two things that I'm going to be using today are some steel wool, some quad-aught steel wool, the finest steel wool they make. Make sure you use the quad-aught or 40-aught steel wool. And some people actually use motor oil, which I recommend, but I didn't have any motor oil in stock. But I'm going to be using, which I don't normally use on a weapon, but I'm going to use some 3-in-1 oil here, just regular generic lube oil. For what I'm going to do, this should be sufficient. This is the triple-aught or quad-aught stainless steel, very thin, very fine, and this is what I'm going to use to apply to actually rub the oil into these rust spots here and here, and it should take this rust out. It's going to be a little manual labor, so it's labor intensive, but it should work. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to apply, and I'm going to also take this steel wool and just tear it into little sections here. I am going to take the 3-in-1 oil and I'm going to douse it generously onto this steel wool. I'm also going to put 3-in-1 oil here and here as well. What I'm going to do at this point is going to just rub the steel wool over the rust. It's going to get messy here. Definitely going to get messy. But you can clean it up. And what the steel wool is doing with the oil, the oil's actually breaking up the rust. If it's topical rust, it's removing it. I'm just going to keep rubbing and rubbing. Okay, we're going to go ahead and just take a cloth and wipe it down some, see if we've taken some of that rust off. Okay, looking at this where the rust was, it looks like it's pretty gone. It could use some more rubbing here. See where it was right here, and it seems to be gone. And also here in the ridges, whatever you want to call those, seems to be gone too. So let's go ahead and rub it down a little bit more and see if we can get any of this final traces of rust off. Okay, let's go ahead and get that rag and check this out again. Wipe it down a little bit. As you can see, the rust is pretty well disappeared. I do have a little bit of scarring right there, but I think for the most part I've gotten most of that rust right off of there. And may rub it down just a little bit more, but basically that, using the quad aught sandpaper and motor oil or some thick oil like 3-in-1. You can use gun oil too. It would probably work as well. You probably have to rub a little bit more. Pretty much takes that rust off of there. And I'm just going to go ahead and finish cleaning up this firearm. Hadn't finished cleaning it from the range today, but I'm going to clean it up some more, and I'm going to put a nice coat of gun oil on here. I may even, in fact, put a light coat of gun oil on the leather side of my hybrid holster, combination Kydex and leather. I'm going to put it on the leather side, so there'll be just a small thin coat of oil on that leather itself to help protect this firearm. As I said, this is the side of the firearm that's up against the leather itself. Well, basically, that's how easy it is to remove surface rust off your firearm. A little quad zero or quad aught, whatever you want to call it, steel wool, and some good grade oil, and a little manpower, a little elbow grease. It'll take it right off. Now, mind you, if the rust is embedded or pitted into the metal itself, there's nothing you can do at this point. You may want to take it to a gunsmith or someplace to have them take a look at it. But surface rust is pretty well removable with this method I just showed you. Now, what I also do in prevention of that, if you have a leather holster or a leather hybrid, whatever, go ahead and just use some gun oil and lightly lube the leather part of your holster there. Make sure your holster is dry, but go ahead and lube it down the side that's in contact with your firearm like I did. And, it should prevent the rust as well. And also, what I do, at least being here in Florida, I clean my everyday carry. I've got two of them. I clean them at least once a week. Light cleaning, that is. And I always just give them a slight coating of gun oil. A very, very, very slight coating, just as a preventative measure. Well, I hope the information I've provided you has been helpful. And if you have any rust on your firearm, go ahead and try this method and see if it works for you as well. Now, if you have any other suggestions or any methods that you use to remove rust, please leave them in the comments below and share them with everybody else. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, go ahead and subscribe now and click that bell to be notified of upcoming videos. Until next time, be safe out there.